Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda, and hello, Matt.
Hello, guys. Great to be back with you.
Yes, this is the third in our 3-series Ask David episodes. This is episode 475, and you're listening to the Feeling Good podcast. Welcome, everyone. Hi, David. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
So let's just do a dive into the next question because it's a pretty long one. So Jenn asked 2 questions. Are you getting old and cranky now? And she also asks, when and how did you get involved with the spiritual enlightenment side of your work with team?
Which is the same as the first question.
Uh-huh.
Because that's the spiritual side, when you get old and cranky.
Dear Dr. Burns, let me start by saying thank you for all of your hard work and diligence in creating a method which is so user-friendly. Completing the book When Panic Attacks changed my life and helped me reach enlightenment, which I agree, I love that book. My Ask David question is inspired by the last few podcasts, the live session with Rhonda and the live session with Madelaine, which David just did with Jill. David has clearly worked so hard to create team and has dedicated so much time to perfect it. I was lucky enough to have been introduced to the podcast when it first started. Some of my favorite episodes to listen to are the live therapy sessions. I've gained insight and felt heard through many of these, such as when David told Lee how lonely enlightenment can be, because I agree with that. Recently, I've noticed that David's demeanor has changed, and I'm hoping to ask about it. I can imagine David might feel lonely in his expertise sometimes. I might be on the wrong track here too, but I wonder if David might be feeling frustrated with the lack of understanding from people around him. He's been dedicating his life to this, and still people do not understand certain aspects of his research and teaching. On recent podcasts, David has mentioned that he gets more irritated with teaching now too, and it has seemed like he's irritated with Rhonda at points.
No. That's pissing me off.
He's mentioned that he feels disappointed if he doesn't see change in 2-hour sessions. Recently, I watched a live session with Madelaine, and some of the techniques, for example, calling her negative self sociopath during counterattack, did not seem to land or resonate with her, and that wasn't addressed with David's usual love and tenderness and warmth with empathy. It seemed rushed and not necessarily focused on the patient outcome, but on the timeline. I didn't find it to be David's usual work of patience and warmth. I could be completely off the rails, but I'm wondering if this is resonating with David and if he could share more about what it's been like for him recently. I'm also wondering if it's difficult to navigate being seen as a great leader in a field. Do you see you as David, simply a dedicated expert in your field, or do people treat you like a god that has all the answers?
Only occasionally like a god, but that needs to be much more frequent.
I can imagine people want help from you 24/7, and if you could speak to that. I'm hoping David can look at some of those thoughts and comments he's made on the podcasts and become the client for us listeners. I would love for David to show us how to experience team from the client's perspective for all to hear. I have used Team CBT for 10 years and recently started the Fast Track program, which I'm very excited for. Thank you again for this truly amazing process. Jenn.
Okay, so we should dive into that. Let me say that your right, to a great extent, Jenn. One thing you missed was the live session with Madelaine. The reason I was rushing toward the end is because I was 30 minutes off in my timing for the workshop, and I had asked Jill to extend it for 30 minutes so we'd have more time, but then I forgot, and I thought we were winding down when we still had 30 minutes left. But that's how I got, a little rushed there. And we're hoping to have actually a part 3 with Madelaine if we can convince her to complete our work and to especially to do the flooding that I think would be important. And she actually mentioned in what she liked the best that my calling her negative self kind of sociopathic, that was she was worried about the creeps in the world, but then she was treating herself in that way. And she said that was actually shocked her, but was helpful for her. But as far as becoming more impatient as I've gotten older, or the loneliness of enlightenment, I would say that's true. And I get frustrated and angry and disheartened, really, when I see the degree of poor understanding and the extremely poor skill level in our field, as well as people clinging to old-fashioned ideas that have long since been eclipsed by powerful new ideas, and I feel like our field is incredibly screwed up, anti-scientific, and divided into irrational cults that are called schools of therapy. And I'm equally frustrated by the fact that nobody seems to see this elephant in our room. And I'm wondering, are you all asleep? Did you learn critical thinking in college? Sometimes I think, did you even go to college or high school? I really think that the shocking lack of critical thinking of people in our field is increasingly disturbing to me as I get older, and I have a kind of question internally I haven't answered yet, and maybe you folks can help me answer it. But I know that Martin Luther in the 1400s or 1600s nailed his treatise on the door of some Catholic person, and he was breaking away from Catholicism, which was thinking we had to, earn our way to heaven. And I think Martin Luther's idea was that we're saved not through our good works, but through grace. And I thought that was an incredibly important idea. And I also know that Jesus angrily threw the money changers out of the temple a couple thousand years ago. And that probably sounds narcissistic, and I'm not comparing myself to Martin Luther or Jesus, but that's how I feel sometimes. And I wonder, does anger have a place in the feedback that I provide? I've done a lot of free videos on the Feeling Great channel, the new Feeling Great channel, and some of them I air my the things that I'm concerned about in our field. Like I did one recently how therapists don't deliver what they offer. You look at their website and they claim to be this kind of therapist, a cognitive therapist, and this therapist and that therapist. And they're just putting those words up there to try to attract customers. And frequently they don't have the training to back it up. And I hear that complaint a lot from people who say, I went to someone who claimed that they knew your work, but they didn't even know what a cognition was. And I think there's a commercial motive there that people are trying to attract and keep customers. And they're all about marketing, and they're not so much about learning and truth and measuring things with the scales that I and other people have developed. And so I've wondered, should I try to, sweet people to enlightenment? Should I try to be nice to people all the time? Or should I, from time to time verbalize my anger like I'm doing right now and just tell people, yes, I am extremely disillusioned and disappointed in the quality of the poor quality in our field. And, when I was at Amherst College, I had roommates who were really high-powered, Phil Allen and Joe Stiglitz and Paul Stern and others. And they went into basic science types of professions where you can't get by with bullshit, and you've got to measure things and prove yourself through excellence. And we just don't have that level of intelligence yet in our field. And so I think we've got all of these cults. Most people refuse to use measurement tools. They wrongly believe that their school of therapy is correct and the only right approach. And when you do research on the basic theory of their school of therapy, the data shows that it doesn't hold up. It's not a validated theory. But anyway, my question to all of you is, should I continue to try to hide my irritation and just be super sweet and all the time? Or should I let people know, that I do sometimes feel, pretty cranky about our field, and I think it's in crappy shape, to be honest with you, and I've developed new methods that can work quickly. Even our Feeling Great app can cause like up to 70% reductions in 7 negative feelings in people who are using it for the first time within an hour and a half. And that's vastly, vastly beyond what most human therapists are capable of doing. And yet, therapists don't seem to be interested in what we've developed as something that they could recommend to their patients to speed up recovery. Why is that? Are they trying to hang on to their patients and make more money? It just irritates me that I think I've developed some great breakthroughs with the help of Jeremy and Rhonda and Matt and Jill Levitt and all the great people we're working with. Tremendous breakthroughs, and yet people seem devoted to their cult, to their religion, to their so-called school of therapy, more than to the truth. So I don't know if I should give myself permission to be old and cranky, or I should just pretend to be sweet and nice all the time. And there's a correct and mind-blowing answer to that question. And Jill and Matt know the answer, and they will now reveal it.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said Jill.
Oh, yeah, Rhonda.
So I don't have to say anything.
Yeah, I always say that about Jill when we're teaching. Yes,
all right.
Rhonda will now reveal that answer.
I think that if you have a strong feeling, and you don't express it verbally, it just leaks out of you. Not you personally, David, but for everyone. I don't think it's possible to contain it. And I have been on the receiving end of your crankiness. And I can say, as someone who loves you and admires you, sometimes it hurts my feelings. And I think, oh, whatever, that's who David is. And I have certainly been cranky. And I accept you 100% for who you are. And I hope that people accept me 100% for who I am. I don't expect you to be perfect. And my admiration and love for you overwhelms any stupid crankiness that might come up. And I've taken courses with other so-called gurus like John Gottman or Sue Johnston or other people in other people who are looked up to or have done a lot of writing. And no one is like you. You are generous. You give away what you have spent years researching. You have been teaching for 20 years on Tuesdays for free. We do this podcast for free. You gave away the app for free over the summer, and it's still free right now, as I understand it. Or I don't know, by the time this is published. You have the YouTube videos for free. Your dedication to healing the world is overwhelming any like weird negative stuff that happens to leak out at you from time to time. I mean, you don't hide that you're human, and that's what makes you even more admirable.
Oh, thank you, Rhonda. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agreed with everything that Rhonda said. I've actually felt sometimes concerned that you give so much, and the fact that more people aren't getting on the bandwagon to learn how to deliver this amazing methodology of team must be incredibly frustrating, and that it's a give, get, imbalance. And I think one other thing I would add to what Rhonda was saying is my sense is that you care very deeply about, things like honesty, truth, having an actual product that's scientifically backed, not just a guru or a cult, but something that can really actually help people who are suffering with what is just an awful experience of depression. It's like being in hell, or anxiety. It's just a nightmare, and you can, and you see and you know how to change people's lives, and you've given so much to help therapists learn how to do that. And I wish everyone were joining this group and being a part of it. And I would be feeling pissed off and angry too, David. And I feel that way when I see people who are in it for the money rather than the joy of helping others, and having a really quality product to deliver rather than just a kind of scam
Yeah.
Wait, I want to add one more thing. I have been in the Tuesday group and the Wednesday group, and people have not done their homework, haven't done whatever preparation that you've asked them to do. And it is annoying, and I lose my patience. So if that's what someone is talking about, I'm in the same category as you. It's annoying when people don't do the work and whatever else is necessary to improve themselves, because it's so available. So I'm on the same page as you with that. But also I want to emphasize 1,000,000% that I have been on the receiving end of your love and compassion and empathy. I'm going to start crying. And there is absolutely nothing better than that. There's nothing better. And I am particularly honored to be in this relationship with you. And I feel sad that everyone in the world doesn't get a chance to be on the receiving end of David Byrne's love and compassion. And sometimes I feel really protective of you, like when people are like trying to pull more from you. And I want to say, stop, leave him alone. He needs a break. Or why didn't you do this homework? It's going to be so upsetting to David. And I think about that sometimes in the Tuesday group, like, oh, do you have to let him down? But in those situations, you don't need my help. But anyway, I just want to emphasize too that I don't know how cranky you are, but you have never lost dedication to providing love and compassion to other people.
Okay, well, thank you. We've got one other question from Jenn, right?
Well, about Love Fest, she said, when and how did you get involved with the spiritual enlightenment side of your work with team?
Well, we can maybe answer this together, but I really love that question. And when I was at Amherst, I was a philosophy major. My dad was a minister, and he always thought I'd be a minister, but I got kind of turned off by what I perceived as a lot of, kind of mean-spiritedness within our religion, rather than acceptance of people and love for people. And I guess we all fall short in that regard. But I've always been interested in the spiritual side, and it occurred to me even early on that when people had particularly an aha moment. When I teach people and they recover, it's generally through an aha moment. People hate it when I say that, but it's the truth, and there's a reason for it. But when I have that sudden aha moment, it's not usually just recovery from depression or anxiety, but it's more. It becomes a kind of an enlightenment, a kind of a spiritual side. And it's almost like recovery is the end of the psychological dimension, and then spirituality begins one step beyond that. The recovery evolves into something quite different. And what we call the state of recovery has been talked about as enlightenment by spiritual leaders for thousands of years. The idea, I think the Buddha was into the idea of the great death of the self. And to me, there's four great deaths of the self. One in the recovery from depression, another great death in recovery from anxiety disorders, a third in a recovery from relationship problems, and a fourth in recovery from habits and addictions. And when you have that death of the self and an enlightenment experience, you're really seeing yourself in the world through a radically different set of eyeballs. Mm-hmm. And I've just always been fascinated by that whole aspect of enlightenment. And what is it? Is it just like Santa Cruz, woo-woo, crystals, all that crap? And is there something substantive to it? And I think there's an awful lot of spiritual ideas that is very central to our work in Team CBT.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that answer.
Me too.
That concept, the death of the self, was really useful recently, and with one of my patients who realized that she was ready to let a part of her die, and she kind of recovered right there. It was the kind of perfectionistic or self that she realized she had to let go of, and she was sad to let go of that, and she saw how it had helped her through some really hard times in her life, but that it was no longer necessary, and so she was able to kind of set it aside. Spiritual things I find difficult to talk about. It's more of like an experience than something we can just talk about, but we can try. And I think, David, you're doing a great job at that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, talking about spirituality is the same as what's called bullshit. And yet something you have to experience. But that's another aspect that's been pretty big with me, is that the externalization of voices was the first cognitive therapy technique I created when I started going to Beck's seminars, and I was just a newcomer and just learning for the first time about cognitive therapy. And then when I added the acceptance paradox to the externalization of voices, that technique became a fantastic spiritual tool and often got people to a state of, I think, what anyone would call enlightenment in a matter of minutes, rather than having to meditate for 15 or 20 years in the hopes of experiencing enlightenment for whatever that's worth.
Okay.
Could we bring that to life in a quick role play? Would that be worth just making it real here? Like, how would you, if we're doing externalization of voices, and I'm telling you, oh, you're terrible and you're worthless and you're no good. How do you use acceptance paradox there?
Well, let's do it right now, as you're suggesting, because this is the kind of role playing I love the most. Would we be doing? What's the negative thought that I'm having? The thought that I'm worthless, and then you're going to be the negative part of my brain. Is that what it is, or is it a feared fantasy? Tell me, what is the setting?
Yeah, let's do what you were describing, externalization of voices, and imagine I'm playing your negative thought, which is that I'm worthless, and I'll give you that thought, and you can demonstrate how to talk
Okay,
back.
you can hit me with the second person you, and we'll assume we've done empathy and positive reframing and all of those things that must come first. But
Right.
we can demonstrate that. So you're the negative David, and I'm the positive David, and so hit me with that thought.
Yeah. Hey, David, I'm your negative thoughts, and I've got a really important message. I just wanted to let you know that you're worthless.
Well, I think I'm way worse than what you think. I'm probably not very smart either, because to tell you the truth, I don't quite know what you're talking about. I have a lot of flaws, but can you mention whatever it is you're thinking about, or something that I screwed up recently? Because I make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, I really liked that first part. That felt like the winning spiritual component of, yeah, I'm probably worse than that. I have a lot of flaws and shortcomings, and I'm kind of okay with that. But I'm also real curious, like what are you noticing, or what do you? So I love that response, David.
Yeah, and you have to experience it. And it's that probably wasn't a good demonstration, because most people they can't get it, and they keep defending themselves. But let's do a role reversal, and let's see how everyone can handle that. I'll be the negative Rhonda, and Rhonda, you can be the positive Rhonda. Okay.
Okay.
Could I talk to you for a minute, Rhonda?
Sure.
I didn't want to hurt your feelings or anything, but I just wanted to remind you that we'll change it a little bit. You're not very important.
I couldn't agree with you more, David. I'm not very important, and that's okay with me. But I am happy, and I have really great friends. I get to hang out with David and Matt, and that's more important to me than being important. So I agree with you.
Okay, now who won?
I won.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
I think that was huge.
Okay, sure. So that was huge. And what got you to huge?
Well, it was immediate acceptance, and then a comment about what I do have that is more important than being important. It's
Yeah, right. Okay, do we have any other loose ends on this thing on spirituality from Matt or from Rhonda? Do you use spirituality in your own work, Rhonda?
I do not, actually. I think that what you said, that when people have an aha moment, it is a spiritual moment. And so I try to guide my patients toward an aha moment through the use of the team model. And when they have it, and we both feel that strength and that awakening, I think we both experience a spirituality. But I don't talk about it or point that out, I don't think, too often.
But you do experience it on that other level?
Yes.
Yeah. How about you, Matt? Does it play much of a role in your work?
Well, I certainly noticed what Rhonda.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No,
I'll tell you the funny story about that if you want. But I was just curious.
Yeah, I've had experiences that are pretty profound, and often they occur when I'm doing these types of exercises with patients, or I'm doing my own personal work on my own. I'll have a kind of breakthrough, and I'll experience a radical change that is sudden in how I feel, where all of the negative, awful feelings just fall apart. They seem ridiculous. And then I feel joy and happiness, and it certainly feels like a spiritual experience. I don't know how to describe it better than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I was taught that where God lives, or spirituality lives, is when we have a moment of awakening, or when we have a really incredibly positive experience, or when we experience love, or like, my son Josh took me to one of my radiation treatments, and we were just chatting so openly and lovingly in the car. And we got out of the car, he put his arm around me, and we looked at each other, and I just felt so much love and at peace. And those are the moments where God lives. That's where God lives for me, those moments. And I've experienced those moments with you, David, and with you, Matt, and my patients, my clients have experienced them. So in those moments where God or spirituality lives, that permeates throughout a successful therapy practice.
Yeah, that's really a neat thing. I think it is experiential. It's not some claim that people make. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Jill, in your anxiety workshop, you and Jill talked about getting somebody to overcome, supporting somebody to overcome a driving phobia who has been paralyzed with fear, and then now through the work can drive anywhere and feel free. And what joy, and that is also can be a spiritual gift, that sense of freedom to live their life without restrictions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one last thing, I was reminded of the Shawshank Redemption. That movie is one of my favorite movies when he finally escapes from prison and he's free and he's like standing in the rain and just has his hands in the air. And it's just such a beautiful moment. You can tell just how free he felt in that moment. And after being in prison for so long, and I think that's kind of like what depression is. It's like a prison. And David, you've kind of shown us how to break out of it and experience that relief and that enlightenment. We're no longer bound. We're now connected to all the joy and love in the world.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, and always, send an email to Matt or Rhonda or David. Tell us what you thought about this podcast or any of the podcasts, and ask questions for future podcasts. And now there's a couple incredibly important things to say as we sign off, and Matt will say the first of them, and Rhonda will say the second.
David, I'm so glad to be spending time with you, and I love it when you're cranky. It shows how authentic you are and how much you care. And I'm glad we got to answer these questions today. And Rhonda, I am always so impressed with you. I just love spending time with you. You have the biggest heart and soul, and so thank you for this time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think I said everything that I needed to say, and I know I sometimes have a tendency to repeat myself, so I won't do that here. I just appreciate all of the people that tune in to listen to us and send us feedback. It's really cool, and every moment I spend with the two of you is just such a great joy in my life. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.